Hello there.
Howdy, Carol.
Hi.
You look white and cheery.
It's hot here.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
I just want to let you know I'm driving. I'm not driving. I'm in a passenger seat, but I'm traveling. So I'll have it on mute most of the time.
Well, thank you, Paige, for being so dedicated to be here.
I want to be here. I've been traveling a lot this summertime, but I want to be here for sure. So, yay.
Well, right on. Right on. As long, hey, listen, as long as you can listen in and have a good time, wonderful. That's dedication to the cause. And you'll be here will you be traveling tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night I am going to listen in. So I shouldn't be traveling. I'll be where I'm getting to next. So,
well,
yeah.
Very good. Very good. I just sent you the
looking
link.
forward to it.
I just sent you the link, so we'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow night too.
Yeah.
You'll listen tomorrow night too. But anyway, okay.
I'll be there. I'll be there for sure. Thanks.
Good. All right. So people are coming in. Boy, people are even early this week. My goodness, what an amazing experience that is. That the draw is just so good.
We couldn't wait.
Outer space.
Couldn't wait to know that that when you go to, exuberance, Joe, I know that's saying something.
Well, you never know if he was in the garden today, so
Ah, right.
Well, yeah, but it's 95 degrees here, so and humid. Where it was, it's not now, but and we have not turned on the air conditioner yet this year.
Great. We've turned on the fans like crazy. It's only 79, but
I was delivering at 101 degrees today.
Man. Hey, Tony, looks like you and I are imbibing. What do you have?
I have a glass of Provence Rosé.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've got some Pet Nat, which is
I know.
I really react to sulfites in wines. So this is made with no sulfites, and it's like a game changer for me.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Pet Nat. One of my best friends in Wilmington actually had a bar that specialized in Pet Nat.
Oh man, I want to go there.
Sulfites, I just have a problem with tannins. So as long as the grape is a soft tannin, I'm good.
Right.
So you mean I got boozers in my class?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Coast.
You mean I am so relaxed that I inspire online inebriation.
It's 8:00 my time, so
Oh well, I suppose. Okay.
And I'm in the cosmic background.
Yes, the cosmic background. I see that. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So what time are we here? Okay, we still got 4 minutes. We'll see who else shows up today.
We should give people a little time.
All right. Well, we'll give people a little time. Anybody want to check in with anything while we're waiting?
I do, in that when Terri comes on, Terri's the one that has the support circle animal totem?
Yes. Yes. Right.
I would like for her to give us a little bit of context.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do tonight is I'm going to introduce a few slides, just remind you guys of a few things. Then I'm going to introduce Phil Fauché's 10-card reading. And hopefully he did his homework. He said he had to review it, and I see he just came on. We'll see if he was a good boy. And
did we get that one?
What's that?
Did we get that one? I don't remember.
I sent that photograph today, along with the brief description again of Terri's 13-card layout. But I'm going to use I'm going to use photographs with these big layouts because they're just putting cards on the table, just they don't, my camera doesn't get them all. So anyway, I'll use a photograph and share those. But anyhow, so yeah, we'll have Terri explain hers after we do Phil's and the presentation, and then if we have time, we'll do the last one with Tony. She actually did a reading for some people, and you know, they turned around and ascended right after her reading. They were so complete and satisfied. You know, lifted right out of their bodies, just, you know, went on to the next plane of existence.
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the most, that story is probably one of the most fantastic successes I've ever heard for a reading, you know. So anyway, so we'll try to get to that, and I'll see if I can keep, you know, Terri relatively on task.
Here she is.
Here she is. Oh, good. Okay. All right. So so yeah, so we're still a few minutes before 5. So we'll still give folks a little bit of time before I, you know, jump into my few comments. Let's see who else joins us tonight.
Hello, everybody.
There she is.
Yeah.
There she is.
Hey.
All right. So let's see, a few more minutes here, and we'll bring. Then we'll go ahead and you know, and I'll go ahead and do some things. Hi, Beth. Welcome back. Hey, Janaya. Hi, Patricia and Catherine. And Paige is in a car. She is so dedicated that she is actually in a car in the passenger seat, monitoring the class while we're doing this. So I feel greatly honored that you know, she wanted to be here for this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so a couple more minutes. So in the meantime, while we're you know, accumulating, twiddling our thumbs, I mean, spending this time judiciously. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've gone over so far, or thoughts about, or comments about, you know, what you've experienced so far, and you know, so anything? And
I'll say something.
all right, go ahead, Terri.
This class has really helped me form a relationship with the cards, which I did not have before.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't really feel a sense of relationship with them for whatever reason. I don't know why. Because they're certainly, you know, very Michael and very cool and very good. You know, I just, I don't know what it was, but I feel much more connected now. And like, you know, I'm an artisan and I've got 5 channels, so I like to use more than one deck at a time. And so I'm beginning to see how helpful these cards can be, particularly in combination with another deck, like the animal deck, like we did at the gathering that year, where we combined your cards with the animal totems. And that was very interesting. And I have a lot of other decks too that I enjoy. You know, I have an angel deck and, you know, different kinds of decks that I've been using recently that are really informative and fun. And so I'm enjoying combining them for an even more, you know, divine, multidimensional perspective on things, you know. Digging it. So thank you for the class. Thank you very much, Steve, for the class. Because
thank you, Terri. That's I really appreciate that feedback. That's lovely.
Yeah, I really feel like I have a relationship with these cards now, where I didn't really feel that before, and I think probably that's because I tend to be lazy and not actually use the cards. I go to your website and do it electronically, right? But you know, hands-on with the actual cards themselves is where that connection lies, you know, because you know, it's one thing to do it on the computer and that's all cool and it's kind of heady and, you know, whatever. But the visceral connection comes through actually handling the cards and putting your own energy into the cards. as well, making them your own,
I'm really grateful that you mentioned that last part too, about the visceral and kinesthetic
Yes.
relationship that one can have, and how it adds an entirely different dimension.
It totally does. I mean,
Yeah.
I always appreciated the insight I got online, and that was fun and quick and, easy. And I always appreciated that. But this brings it home more to a deeper level, being able to work with the actual cards. So
Well, I know for me, doing the reading for Karen and her friend, two completely different readings, but having the symbols, because one of the people really needs like the nuts and the bolts. So being able to go through the reading, seeing the different levels and attributing what the different symbols were, allowed her to, I think, take better notes for one thing, because it really gave her a way to focus the specific energy of the card in its place. And also immediately had her like engaging with them by seeing them in front of her. And we talked about, this and that. So it was kind of interesting in that respect that someone not even really into tarot or a Michael student really was able to engage with the cards herself.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony, for that.
And my apologies last week for not being here, guys, but I did 350 pounds worth of deliveries back to back in 90+ degree heat. And my back said, you need to just not be here. So I apologize, but I did listen to the class. It was great.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, and I'm glad you're back. So
What do you deliver, Tony?
I am a delivery driver for Spark. I'm not doing Lyft anymore. I'm doing deliveries, and I had 5 42-pound flats of water and a 45-pound bag of dog food right before class started. So I was flat now.
Man, yeah, that's intense.
Yeah.
But I get really good exercise. I didn't get any exercise being Lyft driver, except exercising my mind listening to jazz. So
right.
It's a win.
Jean, I'd have to say your crown is particularly royal tonight.
Isn't it working for me?
Oh,
yeah.
Holy smoke. Is it ever?
Excellent. Hey, I wanted to ask folks, most people have done this, but put yourself on mute unless you're talking. That helps us deal with any noises and backgrounds and stuff like that.
You've heard it here first.
The Queen has decreed that everyone needs to
has decreed, and we follow the Queen. I am just the mere mouthpiece, the jester who acts out in front of the court. So
I'm the hard ass. Hey, people.
Jean, right. I would like to do that, and my Zoom is in a funky state that won't let me see the controls, so feel free to mute me, and if I start waiting frantically, put me back on.
Okay, I can mute you, Janaya, but I can't unmute you. It's weird. So
then I'll just try to be really, really quiet.
Okay, you know what? It's fine. It's mostly if people have pets or phone calls or partners that can't stop talking. Me, I have a partner that doesn't mind talking during my Zoom calls. So, anyway, not a big deal. But
oh yeah, I can see too that if I accidentally that my gallery list moved. Abigail was already muted, but it says mute, and then it says ask to unmute. So,
right.
In other words, Janaya, that if we did that and you can't see your controls, then you'd never get back on. So that's just fine. You could practice your Zen meditation tonight.
Oh wait, she muted herself, I think.
She did.
Oh, Steve, did you mute her?
No, I did not.
Oh, I think Michael muted you, which is cool. So
Michael muted you. All right, gang. Well, since Michael muted you, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start. So, All right. Well, as I told you guys, I've got a few things to say before the the end of the class as my last presentation of material here. Let me see if I can get this off. There we go. Excuse me.
Hey, Steve, can I say a quick thing? If you want to ask a question, hit the reaction button and raise hand. That way we can see you better.
Yeah, that'd be great, because not only that, not only will Jean see you, but in fact, since I have all the participant windows closed while I'm doing my slides so that I can see them, but also it doesn't block your screen. But when somebody does raise their hand, it actually pops up. So this way it gives me a chance to see who you are and then be able to answer your question directly. Well, gang, first of all, I want to say thank you. You guys have made this just an outstanding interaction. And I appreciate all of you who actually registered. I appreciate all of you who accepted my invitations, who were doing trades with me, and all the contributions that you brought to this course. Because as I reiterated and have said several times, my purpose in the Michael teaching, as I see it, is to get the teachings in the hands of people in a usable way that does not have to necessarily highlight Michael as the Michael teachings. I may call it the applied Michael approach or sociology, and all the other little euphemisms I do. And of course, I've developed this tool called the Michael motivation cards. But ultimately, as I've said several times over, and Terri tonight so wonderfully, and as well as, for that matter, Tony in her descriptions, the way I put these cards together with the consortium, Michael's consortium's help, was the fact that the language of the Michael teaching is so contemporary and understandable on its face. And there's significant terms and concepts. But then when they gave me all the coaching, prompting, and or just let me loose on choosing the symbols and assembling these things in different ways, and then taking from the Michael teaching subtle, unique methods of grouping cards together and creating sets and or unifying symbols and so forth, it gives people a chance to interact with these without ever having to know directly anything about the source material. And from that regard, I really feel proud and good about what I did. But of course, unless you folks decide to use it and then share it, then of course, it was just me having an art project. But you guys, since I've done these in the last 10 years, I've probably sold or given away, about over 500 decks. And had a couple of thousand people hit my website for doing the electronics. So I feel a degree of and take real solace in that it seems to be giving something to someone, and I'm delighted. And as you see on this slide, it's not only that it is descriptions about human character or situations, but they can help really create narratives. And with you as individual readers and presenting of this material, you are bringing the metaphors of your own life, and people will also see, as was pointed out, in the symbols and the pictures and the words and the positive and negative poles, they're also going to create narratives for themselves and metaphors for themselves. And of course, a restatement, the three kind of purposes of the cards, is that they can help detect what's going on in a situation. They can offer a description for it, and then they can offer some direction, possibly, to help a person, go forward. So in just, kind of putting that culminating, statement on tonight, if I can get there we go. Okay. So, just to remember what happens in a reading and what the readings are for. And again, my hope for you guys is that whether you make this a party game or you get your friends a deck for Christmas or a birthday or what have you, it can begin a conversation. And one of the things in the mature soul era, because all of my work is geared to helping to usher in the mature soul era. And one thing is clear that Michael has said, we've got to get over this sense of over individualism that also can result in isolationism. And how do we do that? We just simply have a conversation with somebody. And if we have a conversation, it gives us the chance to witness somebody else, but it also gives us a chance to really, potentially ask questions of ourselves, ask questions of somebody else, and, maybe have somebody have the aha experience, what I've often called the getting gotten, but more importantly than anything. And Terri mentioned it again about the tangible nature of an actual deck and actually sitting down with somebody. So I look forward tonight, and I'm really going to try and squeeze Tony's reading in, since she had an actual live reading with someone, and talk about that interaction, because she could see somebody, actually having, an energetic thing. Now, here's a little humor. You guys know me. I'm a sage, so that means and a sage that's also a self-deprecator. So as a result, I couldn't help myself. Let's face it, no matter what you say in your interpretation of the cards, no matter what it is, remember, in life, we can always be either a good example or a horrible warning. Myself, I know I've been both. Okay. And it's okay. The older I get, the more I just surrender to and find a way to laugh about it. And the more that I can, the more fun that we can have. Now, here's something I've been holding out on you guys, or at least haven't mentioned much. And folks, the Michael Motivation Cards deck, you can use for asking questions of any spiritual source. So, for those of you who are students of other avatars, whether it's Jesus or Buddha or Lao Tzu, or I know, for instance, that Beth interacts with extraterrestrials. Some people are into Abraham and those manifestation teaching. Then there's, of course, Michael's German counterpart, Dequella, or the Source. And then, of course, like Mother Mary or St. Francis or whatever particular, deity or spiritual energy, all you have to do is say, okay, I want to quiz this source for information. And we're going to do a little exercise for that, where I'm going to cut you guys loose. If you have personal guides and that you're really aware of, literally hold them in your mind, hold that name in your mind. If you have a guardian angel or something like that that you work with, hold that energy in mind and then ask your question. The cards are just a language vehicle, but those beings, those source influences, can utilize them, for giving you feedback. Also, as you see here, I say the essence of loved ones. So folks, some of you remember that last week, Melanie was really great in sharing, the very powerful and personal experience she had with the family constellation spread. And so she was, essentially, asking energies about her family members. So you can do that. And whether they're living or not, you can ask, even if these are persons that are in your life, pose questions to their subconscious to see what their essence is actually, coming up with. For those of you who are into, and I know that one of our folks here, Renee, has been a reader of the Akashic Records. So, you can, again, use these cards to hold that space, that place, that energy in mind, and then pose whatever question you want. And then, like Terri or some of you who have created your own layouts, you can go from there and do what you feel right. Because remember, these are your vehicles. They are, like Terri said, she made a connection with hers. And therefore, she could make it work for her, as we'll see when we go to her magnificent layout. Now, you guys all remember that for those of you who attended the East Coast Michael Gathering, I introduced to you, I'm calling it right now, your own subpersonality as one of the 7 roles. And I made the statement that, Michael has actually said before that every human being, regardless of, what your primary role in essence is, either whether you consider it by virtue of the fact that you're just a member of the universe, but the fact that you are maternal souls, that you have done at least the occupation of every one of the 7 archetypes: artisan sage, server priest, warrior king, and scholar. You have done those occupations at least once. So that means you have developed an inner subpersonality that reflects that. Now, so when it comes to calling on that energy inside of yourself, I led you through an exercise, and I've renamed them. I call them now your inner role subpersonalities, and of course they have the 7 roles listed there. And you could always ask that. But for those of you who know my work, that both JP and myself, I'm not sure, but I think of maybe a couple of other Michael channels. But I know primarily the 2 of us work with what we call subpersonalities, and you see a couple of Michael teaching references to the White Knight, to the Guardian, or the Rebel, and notice that these are more sociological archetypes in the sense of how we respond in life. Well, you can pull any of those up. If you're a mother, you have a mother archetype. If you're a father, as a matter of fact, whether you're male or female, everyone has a mother and father archetype, etc. Okay. Now you can also select, sample the collective unconscious of humanity, which I do on a regular basis to kind of, take the temperature of things. And then I often use the meditation moment, the single card draw, to just see what's going on about my mood or my, influence. And then here's the last one that I haven't really talked much about, but I did introduce it, and I just want to reflect back to it from the beginning of the course. I introduced you or showed you a particular type of card deck called the Creative Whack Pack. And the Creative Whack Pack is a very fun, inspirational kind of creative form of input that poses a question or gives you a concept so that it breaks your mind out of a stalemate. Well, you can use the Michael Motivation cards that same way. So in just a moment, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to have you guys actually choose a card and talk to one of your own guides. So this is going to be a fast one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and I'm going to bring everybody back online. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the breakout rooms. Now, here's what I'd like to do, folks, is I see that there are 16 participants in the class. It looks like we lost somebody. Let's see. So I'm going to, I'm going to make 8. I'm going to, what do I call it? I'm going to assign 8 rooms. And I'm going to create the rooms. And I'm going to send you all into a room. And for those of you who have your deck of cards, choose a card, okay? And, okay, so Terri, let's see. Terri, I am going to, let's see. One of you is going to have a 3-personer because otherwise we're going to be short 1 person. So, all right, so there we go. All right. So what we'll do now is I'm going to have you all, I'm going to open the rooms and I would like you all to choose a card. But before you do, so here's what I want you to do before I open the rooms. Are you ready? Okay. All of you who have a deck of cards, I want you to lay your hands on your deck and then think of a guide or an angel or one of the other many avatars that are out there. Whether it's Buddha or Krishna or Jesus or, Mother Mary or, Fred the alien or, I don't care. Whatever comes to your mind, hold that being's energy in place. And then if you have a question, go ahead and ask your question in your mind to that being and then choose your card. If you don't have a deck, okay, go to michaelcards.com, the website that I've been showing you the whole time. And when you get there, choose the motivation, the motivational moment. It's just the one card. And then just type in a word or two of your question, like we discussed last time. And then when I assign you all to your groups, each of you just share who it was that you inquired to, what your question was, and then the answer you got. And take no more than 3 minutes each, okay? All right, here we go. So I'm opening the rooms, and you are all going to be starting to be assigned as you go. So you should see there yourselves, and you can start joining those groups. And Janaea, you are in room 1, but you can't get there, huh? That's all right. You and I will work together then, all right? So, yes, go ahead. Oh, you can't unmute yourself. Okay. And let's see what happened. And Patricia, I see you still here. You weren't able to join either?
Didn't see anything come up for me to join.
Okay. I'm not sure how to.
Okay, there's a thing at the bottom that says join breakout room. Should I just click on
Yes, hit that. That should bring you there. All right, Janelle, let's see if I can Oh, you're coming back in. Okay. Oh, I see you used your phone. Good job. Okay, and I'll wait on you, dear, to tell me what card it is that you chose.
Hold on.
Okay, I'm holding on.
I'm gonna turn off the other one because it's an echo. Do you hear it?
Gotcha.
Okay. Steve, what an
Yes.
adventure.
There you are. Back you are. All right. So, did you get a chance to choose a card?
I did.
All right.
Is it you and me, bud, huh?
That's
Okay.
it, girl.
The card that I chose is the Idealist.
All right. And who did you ask?
I asked a high teacher whose name is Shandira.
All right.
Shandira, who I've recently connected with, whose specialty is healing when there is trauma.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I haven't asked, but I think they're probably at a level similar to Michael, somewhere there in the causal. And so the question that I asked was, just this week, I used the cards for myself for the first time, encouraged by doing your class here, relative to setting a price, selling a parcel of land I have, and about which I was anxious. And so I used the cards to help me with that. So my question to Shandira was, we negotiated with the buyer. The price is much lower than I had hoped, but it's also, I know, the right thing for the land. So so there's a mixture of feelings for me about that. Part of it is, yes, it's right to let go, and I know it's the right buyer and all that, and it's less. And so there's my insecurity or fear, scarcity shows up. So I got Idealist, and I got it with a negative pole up, naivete. Mm-hmm. So I'm asking about my response right now. Okay. What can you mirror? And so Idealist, let me see, diamonds. Is that our sage?
That's our sage column? It is the sage column, and it's the sage attitude. Right.
It's also my personal attitude.
Okay.
Also-
Which is always important when it's your own card. You know, you gotta say your own overlay.
That is the negative pole could say that I was naive to think that I could get a price as high as I did because it's an unusual and difficult situation around that property, which details you don't need to know. Or I can get, looking at your little ABC blocks, talks about, for me, it also infers a kind of innocence.
Yeah.
And in truth, the whole transaction will be far simpler than most real estate. It will be just following the ABCs, not a whole lot of complexity. What else do I get in reading this card? Looking at, let me add to separately from this, Steve, that this week, using the cards for this whole thing, I found the symbols around the corners to be a valuable piece of that. So I want to thank you for, the creative work that you did in bringing that through.
Good. Thank you, Jenny.
And the other thing that I did with both of them, since all of them have come up negative, is I also said, okay, how would it feel if reversed? Or with a sense of how, if I do my work with the current negative pole, how will it transform it to,
Good.
in this case, pieces will come together. And so I'm taking this card in that light as well, that it's not sufficient to just look at it the way it came. It's to look at it where it can evolve to.
Good.
And
Good.
coalescence is wonderful. Now, your perfect symbol of the peace symbol, right? The buyer's whole framework that I have readily treasured is he says, I want this to be a win-win. I don't want to play if it's not a win-win. And that's what we both have been working towards, is a win-win. And I think that it is. I think that it is. I just have a little more, pieces of letting go. So the peace sign is a I'm partway there. And I don't need to hold on to any, Chandra would say, you don't need to make a trauma out of this. You don't need to make a point of suffering out of this. Just let go. Perfect things are right. It's right.
Excellent.
And while I have you personally, let me just say, I take the moment to say I am very thankful for your offer to be part of this. I have not done much in the way of divination for many decades, actually. And with Terri, having them physical and having the different layouts has been really, it sort of opened my mind. Listening to other people's stories of how they use it has opened my mind. Responding to your invitation about continuing the class, I would like to. Summer is not a good time. Okay. So I would love to do your class, when you next do it, in a nice wintry or fall kind of time. So I'd like to come back and be with you through that, because I feel like I got my toes wet, but I really want to walk in.
All right, great. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So it looks like we're all going to take the summer off, and we will talk about fall then. So thank you, Janaya.
Dawn and I were just chatting. It was like, whoops, sorry.
That's okay. A couple of sages just chatting. Boy, I can imagine that was loud.
I mean,
if not loud, at least lots. All right.
Have I been captured into your vortex?
It could be. I suppose that's one of the things that often can happen, right? So I don't know if everyone is back yet, but I knew that I had to trigger a few. So did anyone have any remarkable things that they discovered? Okay, so Phil has a raised hand. Who did you ask? What did you ask? And was there anything really interesting that you got as a response?
Well, I asked my guide or guides who I asked about an energy about my life plan, what what can be said about my life plan, and what can you tell me about whatever energy. And I'm an artist, and I got artifice
Uh-huh.
as that, and it really upsets me.
Uh-huh.
I don't like that.
Okay.
Anyway, I shouldn't ask such, far-reaching questions. I might find something that I don't like about it.
Well, maybe what it's saying is, come on, is that really what you want to ask?
Yeah.
So all right. I think Dawn and Tony next. Were you done? I guess
I
Phil.
don't know if you're talking about what light.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, she's not even there. Okay. Tony, go ahead. Dawn is
Hey, John, put yourself on mute, please.
Oh, now she's back. Okay. All right, Dawn, you'll be next. Tony's up next, and then and I
Okay, I'm
sent
so
you a little-
sorry. I got here late. Would you just quickly run me through what you're doing?
I sent you a text letting you know what to do. I mean, not a text.
Thank you.
Yeah, a chat.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
in
you.
the chat. Go ahead, Tony.
So Terry and I had a nice little breakout chat, and I basically just sort of asked for whatever energy was guiding me in the next steps of where I'm going, because it's pretty much up in the air. And I don't know, I read this differently, the image, but I think it's somebody else. But I got, okay, let's see, okay, there we go.
Here,
So
Tony, put it next to your
but-
face. Put it on your face.
You got elder
Okay,
soul.
there we go.
You got
How's that?
elder. Okay, so you
Yes.
got elder in the positive pole.
Positive pole. So
Walt
what was
Whitman.
interesting was in my brain,
Yeah.
I think that's a picture of John Muir, right?
No, it's Walt Whitman.
Oh, it is Walt Whitman. Okay, because Walt's my man. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was Walt or John, but Walt, obviously, he came through loud and clear
Both are cool
about
dudes.
how to take my sage artisan energy and, being scared shitless of level changing up to, number 6. Don't want to do it, but obviously it's kind of in the works. So anyway, I was very pleased with this. And like I said, now I'm really happy because I love me Walt.
Well, right on. That's one of the things that I was trying to also do, is to really build a lattice work within this community, including some of the newbies, and I want to just acknowledge, Karen and Renee for being, relatively new to the Michael teachings, and yet showing up and doing this divination class. And as I've stressed during this entire class, my divination system may be built on the Michael teachings, but it's not necessary to know the Michael teachings. It literally is, the interrelated set of things to yourself. And one of the easiest way to see that, of course, is by virtue of the fact that, I have the color chart. And at any given time, you can refer to the color chart and then see. And then your handout can literally, the first 10-page handout that I sent you, give you a complete review of the major points in the course and the major philosophical points. So thank you, Tony, for that. And is there anyone else who would like to share, anything interesting they got in their card, who they tried to connect with? I'm not sure what you are asking, Karen. Okay. I'm
Karen said helps me with profiling.
Oh, okay. Karen, do you want to? I'm curious. What
FBI, come on, FBI profiling.
All right, way to go. Now I know who's our we have our surveillance sorceress in there. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, that's all right, dear. That's all right. Join the club. Okay, so Dawn Barker is going to bark at us. Enlighten us, Dawn. Bring the new Dawn.
Okay, thank you so much, because I would love to throw this out to the whole group. And I want to tell you what's going on. Okay, I have a niece who's 33 years old. And when she was 14, she was very athletic. And one day at a soccer match, she kicked the crap out of a soccer ball, fell over, and couldn't get up again. And what happened was the ball joint in her hip had completely broken into two pieces. And she went from being extremely athletic to in a wheelchair for 4 years, because they won't do a hip replacement on you unless you're an adult, because you're growing, and it just wouldn't work. So they did a hip replacement on her when she was 18. Okay. She's now 33, and the hip replacement has failed, but not because of the joint or because of the hip replacement itself, because the bone in her hip can no longer, it's degraded to the point where it can't support the mechanism. And I have been exceedingly upset about this and praying and just trying to come up with something. And so the card that I got for this was 71, the infancy and the helplessness card. And this really goes along with what I have been getting in my prayers and meditations, which have basically been just like, God, help me. You know what I mean? That she's in a very, very good financial situation, and she's very loved. And that apparently this is what she's trying to experience. And it is the helplessness of being an infant. Wow. Thank you. But I'd love to hear what all the rest of you have to say about this.
We haven't got a lot of time to take comments, but go ahead and make a few, folks.
Can I ask a quick question? Was your question literally to the concept of God?
No, I literally, when it said, ask someone else, I said, does anyone else, you know what I mean? So I put it open.
So perhaps her own essence was who you were questioning. And in that you got what she was experiencing. And it sounds like it validates what you're feeling as well about her. Go ahead, Dawn. I see or wait a minute. So who's got the other raised hand?
Me.
Okay. All right, Jean, go ahead. You have a comment?
And Patricia. Dawn, that makes the result you got makes sense to me. Just because I have a friend who has a child who is drastically what we would call disabled, and the reading she got years ago, not for me, but from someone else, was that this is a resting lifetime for that person. And so the fact that that is what your niece got, she got the helpless, the experience of the helplessness kind of sort of works in that, that experience. Like I need a situation where I just need to be helped and I don't do anything. That feels right to me somehow.
Me too.
I don't know if that's helpful or not, but
yes. Thank you.
Patricia, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just actually I'm sitting here and there's lightning and thunder and I can't even see the building beside because the rain's coming down so heavy. It's bizarre. But as we just started doing our work here, I just had a few things. First of all, I'm raising a son who's got cerebral palsy, so I know what it's all about to work with someone who's got a life challenge that they've come in with, that they decided to live, and it's a contract with me as his mother. And but I just have this huge, it came to me immediately as you was talking. I'm a family constellation facilitator, and I have a huge sense, is there any split somewhere in the ancestral family system that has never been healed?
Wow. Wow. Interesting metaphor. Thank you. That's excellent. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, gang, thank you for all of that input, and thank you for trying that. I'm going to go back to some slides now, and I'm going to continue to bring a few things up, and then we're going to hit. And Phil, by the way, I was thinking I would do you first if you actually went over your 10-card spread. If not, I will just go on to someone else. But I just want to, give you a notice that I promised we would come back to you And you promised you would do your homework, so we'll see. We'll see if he was a good boy or not.
All right.
Totally called out, man. There you go.
There it is.
Oh, really?
All right. So a few things I want to just say about, I'm going to, again, I haven't spoken about, necessarily the augment set in general, or excuse me, only in general or only in fragments. But I want you to understand that these are actually really non-physical things, but that deeply and profoundly have an effect on us. And the way that I have the order here is I wanted to remind you, in the beginning of the class, I showed you that 4-part graphic, and that I said the transcendent cards, or part D of the part of the Tao of the Michael teaching, is the idea that these are energies that go from the astral plane to the physical plane, internal to us. So it's really the connection between essence and personality. So whenever you see one of these cards in your layouts, understand that, this is something that's going on, definitely within yourself, that you're asked to look at, your own level, layer. The pole will help give you some indication, if it's a frequency card, and if it's in the positive pole, it's suggesting that you're actually living from your own right frequency, at your own pace, and at a style, and at a way that's working for you. If you got the masculine or feminine card, and if they're in the positive poles, they're suggesting that you are expressing your balance in a way. But it also might suggest that, especially when it's in the negative cards, that you may be in one of the extremes of that within you. And so, realizing that these are, looking at the masculine and feminine traits that are, listed in your ebook, because they're quite extensive, and they're more than just the 3 words that you see on these cards. Now, of course, personality card is really important, because now whenever you see this in a reading, whoever you're reading for, it's about them, and if you're reading for yourself, it's about you. But it's that self-love, and I made the card a little bigger, and jumping over to self-love, and then soul spirit, because the more self-love that you can maintain, and remember, I mean self-love as self-care, as opening to life force, finding a way to be at peace with yourself. This is not about self-indulgence and how many things you give yourself and all that. In fact, a lot of times that's more about narcissism and compensation. But the more that you can be okay with yourself and who you are, then the more you have a dialogue between essence and personality. And that's why I laid these cards out like this. So whenever you get significant runs of these kind of cards like this, know that you're either seeing somebody that's getting an important message to themselves, or you yourself, if you are the one who's getting the reading. This is one of the last pieces of layers that I wanted to address with you folks. And Janaya was very, very kind to acknowledge that how much the corner symbols were helpful to her in doing a reading this week. And I wanted to let you know that many of you who are familiar with this teaching, and granted, those of you who are not, you can get it from this. We have a part of this teaching, we call, the life quadrant positions, which is the natural stylistic. There's other schools of thought that use these similar concepts. They call them, the social styles methodology, a promoter, director, supporter, and knowledge person, or intellect, any number of different things. Well, in the Michael teaching, we use some similar concept. So up in the left-hand corner of every card, I use as the knowledge position. So whatever you're seeing up there, you can say, here is another energy I can draw up. Up in the upper left-hand corner, it is knowledge of that particular archetypal energy. Then down on the bottom, you can see where you're drawing from your power. You're drawing power from that energy. And then in the lower right is the support position. So even embedded in the cards are yet another layer that you can scan as you get more and more familiar with the multiple, messages that are being given there. Now, I wanted to come back. I'm sorry,
Stephen,
go
I
ahead.
just want to clarify, those designations are for it being in the positive pole.
Yes, you can read them all in the positive pole, certainly, Beth.
No, I mean, when you're looking at your card, when you're orienting to love or knowledge, you're doing it with the positive up at the top.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because it's love and knowledge are on the positive side of the card.
Yeah, like if I pull a negative, if negative's on top, I can assume that's power and support.
Yeah, in that regard, it's not so much. I just had 4 corners to work with, so it wasn't so much that I was choosing, that love and knowledge are positive things and power and support are negative things. Thank you for this clarification. It's an important one. No, they're all symbolic of those. The symbol there is symbolic of this quality, but it's not meant to be reflective of the positive or negative pole. It just happens to be in one of the 4 corners, and there are 4 items here. Does that help?
Oh, I think what potentially we're asking is that when you're holding it in the positive pole, you've got different symbols than when you're holding it in the negative pole. There are different symbols in those positions. So
I understand. I do understand what you mean. I'm sorry that I wasn't clear. My apologies, Gene. It is always like this. Even if the card is upside down, all right, the bottom right is support and the bottom left is power of the card, even if it's upside down. So in other words, maybe this is, I just wanted you to get, to get more used to that additional piece. Sorry if I'm rushing or if I'm leaving you a little bit confused. I don't mean to. There is more in this, by the way, in the ebook. So, and those of you who begin to understand about the life quadrant, just know that for practicality purposes, I only had 4 corners. None of the symbols in any of the corners are meant to be good or bad or positive or negative. Even if you pick the card up in the negative pole, still the positive pole left corner is always the love position. The positive pole right corner is always the knowledge position. The bottom or the negative pole left position is always power, and the negative pole right position is always support. Okay, hopefully that clarifies it. No matter which direction you pull the card. Okay.
Hey, Steve, I'm still confused. So if I have tyranny, is the upper left still love?
Is the if you have no. Okay, so you're still confusing. Forget what pole the card is drawn in. Okay. I put these 4 positions built in these 4 corners, built in this way. So regardless of what position, go back and look at the card graphic and just say, oh, sorry, you guys. I'm let me do this.
Wait, Steve, so I guess my question is, if tyranny is above, so is the upper right hand corner of tyranny in the position you call love?
No. No. As I said, if you want to, let me say it this way, maybe it'll help. If you get a card in the negative pole, just flip it over if it makes sense. Okay, that's the love position, that's the support position. This is the power position, and then this is the support position. Even if it's drawn like this, guess what? This is still love, This is still knowledge.
Ah,
This is still
Yeah.
see. Does that help?
okay.
Okay, so
If it makes it
turning it
easier to,
over
yeah.
changes it.
If
So,
it
yeah.
makes it easier to flip it over to get used to what those 4 positions are, then that's great.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. All right, let me get back to just finishing these things here that I want to, and then we're going to hit a couple of more things and do a couple more readings. All right. So I realized, as I said, you know, I wanted to be able to just introduce these nuances, and those nuances are in, you know, the ebook more thoroughly explained. Okay, so I've mentioned this verbally, and I believe we've touched on this on many occasions when somebody has pulled any one of the Soul Age cycles cards. And one of those symbols that represent cycles, I've used the Nautilus shell. And the reason I've used the Nautilus shell is because it represents the spiral of evolution so incredibly well. Plus, it's just beautiful as all get out, right? But it also visibly and visually illustrates going round and round and retouching, you know, points in, you know, of that we evolve through. So these are used as they're points in a cycle, right? They're steps or stages in a process. And I mentioned a few here. You know, metamorphosis, project management. I literally use this when I'm thinking about doing something, and you know, ask the stages of what it's going to look like at different phases. But also you can use this if, you know, and I haven't formally done this, but I've often I've often thought about my, you know, internal monads and done a 7-card spread on them to see what I might encounter at that level. My point is the Soul Age cycle set starts with this image. And so when you go through the 5 stages, which is infant or infancy, childhood, which is baby soul, adolescence, which is young soul, maturity, which is mature soul, and then elder, which is old soul, you can also see those, you know, you think of those as, you know, potentially stages in a process, or relatively the maturity of one's potential behavior in a circumstance. So this is, I wanted to make sure I pulled out the cycle off card, because many of you have heard me say that within this deck, the Tao is the most important, followed by the Nexus card. By most important, I mean the greatest significance in terms of meaning, if it shows up in a reading, okay? And then I mentioned that I think the Time card is the third. And the Time card actually begins the Soul Age cycle group. Well, at the end of the cycle group is something that we Michael students know as this concept of cycling off. And for those of you who are new to the Michael teachings, the cycling off is the concept that when a soul has completed all its potential lessons on the physical plane in a body, it literally completes a physical plane cycle and then leaves and goes, you know, on to the next phase of existence. So the cycle off card is the 4th, in my estimation, most important card in this deck. And then after that would be the 7 archetypes, meaning, you know, server, artisan, warrior, scholar, sage, priest, king. But the reason this is for me is because whenever this is pulled, it really is indicating that you've come to the end of a line. Now, whether or not, if you get it in the positive pole, it might say, congratulations, you've earned your diploma. You've literally completed everything that needed to be done. But it may also indicate that, you know, if you're finished, or an opportunity is finished for you, it's ended. It may not be something you feel complete with or you feel satisfied with, but it might be indicating that it's done. And there is no more going after that. And I just want to tell you, for those of you who are readers of the traditional tarot, I literally consider the cycle off card as equivalent to the death card, in that it's the end of a major stage of development. And in the positive pole, it means it's a completion and a moving on to something else. But it also means that, you know, it could be you're finished, like it or not. So I wanted to make that point because I think it is such an important card. And I think in our world, where so much emphasis is placed on do, but also the worry or fear that we're going to miss out on something, that being able to tackle something like this and address it, I think is really important. So I just wanted to give a little intro to Terri's reading, just so you're aware. She's going to go over this as well, but I thought it would be important. And then again, a couple last slides, and then we'll be done. In that, the support positions, which is a really important construct in the Michael teaching, it basically addresses what would you as a whole human being, what kind of relationship types are really useful and necessary for you to experience the greatest amount of potential wholeness, success, mental and emotional health, as well as actually deploying yourself in as multiple ways effectively as you can. So as we're going to see you in Terri's layout, she has 4 sets. And each of these sets has, a grouping of 3 attached to them that she's going to say more about. But I just wanted to at least, introduce you to this basic, 4 set, where one is about intimates to yourself, worldly qualities, the mentor, the anchor, and the discipline positions are literally support positions that come in to help you, get your world together. The spiritual, enlightenment, muse, and humor are inner states that you can achieve and feel uplifted and expanded by. And then when I call this one karmic, the group 4, I believe Terry has probably a different name for it, but it does notice that I even have in parentheses that it affects different higher centers. So I'm just, don't worry about this too much. I don't want to try and get off. Terri's going to come back to this in a moment, and I'll just finish my last couple of slides. Here it is graphically. Again, these are the support positions. These are on my website. These are on Terri's website, so you can learn more about these. And then of course, you're going to learn more about these with Terri. So I think I can skip this. I think I've given you guys overviews of the body types enough, so I'll just move on from this. But these are how they would inform a situation. And again, I think you've got these in actually a couple of your hands out. Last comment, and then we'll be done, and then we'll go to readings, is, folks, I just want you to remember that, the cards in and of themselves, and in actuality, really just like channeling, they are a means, they are a vehicle, they are a tool as a source of divination, to help prompt you, to help give you a different point of view, give you some input when you're feeling stuck, open you to curiosity. But it is not an ends. In other words, the answers you get or the feedback that you get are not the end all be all. They're just a starting place. And the real ends of any of this kind of work is, what you do with it, right? And the primary doing that I'm talking about is not about, necessarily the young soul goals of, success and achievement, even though those might be helpful, to sustaining yourself and giving yourself a sense of meaning. But really the bigger, deeper meaning is what the mature soul era is about. And that's relationship and making connection and, figuring out a way to, open to another and maybe help another open to yourself. So with that, I send you off of this class, with the hope that, now that I've shared all these mystical secrets with you, right, that you go and share them with other people in any way that you can. And, again, I thank you for being a part of this course. I'll say it again probably before we sign off tonight, but this is at least the end of my slides for tonight, and I'll come back to you. And before we go to anything else, are there any questions? And I think since it's we're at about an hour now, I'm going to do our 5-minute break, and then we'll come back. But before we go, are there any questions before we take our break, and then we start looking at least 2 and maybe 3 layouts for our last bit of class? So somebody looks like they wanted to talk. No? Okay. Well, I guess that I have so mesmerized you that it is time to let everyone go to the bathroom break or get something to drink. And let's be back here in 5 minutes, all right? And then we'll bring up Terry, excuse me, we'll bring up, I guess, well, Phil Fauché is there. I wonder if Phil is ready. And if he's not ready, we'll go to Terry's right away. So, okay.
I have a question. For mine, you're going to put the spread on the board, right? You're going to.
Well, no, because there's so many cards, my camera won't catch it. So I'm going to use your picture. I'm going to try and lay it out, but I'll see what I can, I'll see what I can do.
Because I don't have it laid out here. I have
That's
it.
fine. I've got your photographs that you sent me, and
okay, yeah, we can just start at the top and just go, switch.
Yeah, right. And then we can go
Yeah.
through your sets of 3 as well. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
Okay.
All right, everyone.
Okay, it went away.
We still have about a minute.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just chilling. Getting all my little quackadoodles in a row.
So Phil, did you want to go over your layout, or did you get a chance to review it this week?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Thank you. So are we ready to go?
I think we will be in just a second. But and when everybody gets here, I will alert them to the fact that this is the Revelation spread. And thank you, by the way, for putting all the labels underneath them. That was really helpful.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah, it's there's a lot.
yeah. So what was your question about when you when you decided to pose the revelations, use the revelation spread? Because it's a big one, obviously, and it's fairly encompassing.
I did this for actually this is a reading for my wife, Sandy.
Okay.
So she struggles with getting back to her creative work, which she was quite involved with at one point in her life. And so I kind of encouraged her to ask a question about that. And she said, I would like the broad perspective and trajectory of my creative work, using some of the language for this. What is this spread called?
The revelation spread.
Revelation spread. So on the first one, history, and we talked about it, so I asked her question, though she had some recognition, but it never really gained the traction that she wanted. And I think there's definitely some discrimination involved with that, being a woman and an ordinal server, so she doesn't I like artists to be able to speak well about their work and so on. So that's the history card. The potential card, adolescence, seems pretty straightforward. She's learning to be confident. But I was also wondering if there was because it's a young soul associated with a young soul level.
Well, she's in a cycle in her process. Notice there are 2 soul age cards in this reading. That she is in the positive pole of the middle stage, right? So she's reached competency, and she's asking about her artistic abilities. sounds like that's, and it's under the potential heading that the placeholder. I would think that, it's a comment that she is, a competent artist.
Yeah, it makes sense for that.
Yeah.
Position.
Phil,
Yeah.
can I ask a question? Did you say
Sure.
she's an artisan or a server?
She is a server,
Okay.
and her position is artisan. Her
Artisan casting.
Her casting is artisan. Yeah. Now the third position, interference, which are referred to as energies that may block and constrict hopes and plans, and she gets passion in the positive pole.
Yeah.
Which you would think that would be a really terrific card to get, but its placeholder is interference. So the only way I could really read that was that she wants to fulfill her artistic endeavors so much that it actually gets in her way. I don't know if anybody else has another way to read that.
That was exactly what I thought, Phil. Thank you. That good show on your interpretation. I think that is a very useful one. And at least from my own interpretation, I think that's hell. Come on now.
Thank you. So in the fourth position, protection. It's the force that can be used as a shield.
Uh-huh.
And that is not her body type at all. She's like a lunar type. And the way I read this was that for her to revel in her own in the beauty that she is able to see in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that would give her protection. That would give her something to anchor her.
Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay.
And then the fifth position, the unconscious, is a pattern you haven't noticed. So it's like a fear, I think, that she's done.
Uh-huh.
That she doesn't have any more. I don't know. She's not conscious. She is conscious of that fear. But I suppose it operates. It is not something that she, of course, wants to have in her. She wants to be able to work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The looming card, the sixth position, is a change in circumstances that you have not noticed. Look to card 4 to know how to respond. This is from the website.
Yes, right. Thank you. They're both action-oriented cards too, aren't they?
Yes. Well, action and yeah. Is his cycle, which is the other action card?
The action card, the agitation card 6, which is looming, is the action axis, and then the Venusian body type is the warrior action body type.
Oh, right. They're both the red cards.
Yes, exactly. They're both red cards, and the red card placeholder is referring to the red card other placeholder. Interestingly enough.
Ah, okay. So she would deal with her agitation by embracing the Venus and the positive pole.
Yes, the softness, the beauty. Yes.
The seventh position.
Yes.
Server, that position are patterns that seek resolution. Being a server, I would suppose that it's a karmic activity for her to, you know, to be in this, doing this artistic work.
It must be an interesting challenge, because like when you just pulled the artisan card and you're an artisan,
Yeah.
and she is a server, and she pulled her own role within her reading. That's usually a big deal. Whenever you pull, ladies and gentlemen, any of your own overlays, particularly your own role in a reading for yourself, pay attention. That means the inner, you know, it's really saying it's you. This is about you. Go ahead, Phil.
Thank you. So the next position is hopes and fears.
Yeah. Feminine energy.
So look to card 6. So this seems to augment the number 6 card, which is agitation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like her actions are getting more and more kind of harried, and it's draining her energy or causing it to be less, you know, anything but focused, the opposite of focused.
Right.
Diffuse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. And your resolve, which is the decision to act to change number 4. To change an attitude that portends the outcome. I'm not quite sure I understand that, the wording. The decision to act or to number 4 change an attitude.
If number 4, if number 4 were in, you know, the way that she's holding protection, and if it was working against her, it might indicate that it is a contrary, you know, it's offering a contrary. But in this particular case, it's saying your resolve, and look at the positive pole word for the karma card. It's resolution.
Yeah, it's resolution.
You know, so it could be just about surrendering, just literally allowing things to be as they are and stop a lot of the fighting. And in that regard, it will take care of itself. And then look at the last card.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very nice thing to see.
Her genius can be recognized, can be realized more specifically.
Right. Right. Yeah, she her comment about the whole thing was that, well, you can make any card make sense. She's very skeptical.
Tell her that's quite all right, you know, and that's always a good thing to, you know, to have. And
Yeah.
we have two questions, and I'm not sure if Beth went first or Jean came first.
I think I'm first, baby. No.
All right. All right. Well, I'll let you two fight it out, but all right, go ahead. Whoever wants to start, go ahead.
So Phil, I am reading this, getting information from the whole, in the pieces. And so I'm not going to go through each card, but what I'm getting is that she is an accomplished artisan who does amazing work, who is also a server, who part of her lesson this time around is that she's not going to get the kind of fame and fortune that one might get from one's artistic endeavors.
Right.
But that what she is doing is she is doing her work, and the cards are telling you it is good work, and she's a genius actually, but her karma per se is that she has to recognize that doing good work is an end into itself, meaning the recognition piece may be what she wants, but maybe the piece that isn't coming because it is not necessary this time.
Right. That would be the service and
Yeah, the server
Yeah.
card stood out at me immediately, and that's why I
Right.
clarified with you what her role was. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
meaning it's all she does amazing work. It's just this time around, it may not be, she just has to keep continuing to do her work. That is her work and her what she needs to do. It just may not be a fame and fortune situation.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Let me move on to Beth so we can Beth can have another shot for Phil. I want to make sure we get as much time as possible to thank you, Jean, and sorry, Phil, to interrupt you. Beth, did you want to give Phil a comment?
I was just gonna say, I, like Jean was picking up on the whole, and similar to Jean, I had the same thoughts Jean was having, and then the thing I'll add to it is I was sort of picking up that her art is her service, that she's so amazing at it, that is her artistic gift, is through service, and that there's a sort of questioning she's doing about herself that's not helpful because she's highly gifted prodigy at her service.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Was that is that complete, Beth?
Yep.
Thank you. Good input. And then Tony, you had your hand raised.
Okay, so what I think I'm confused. I thought, Phil, you said she's a server and you're an artisan. Is that correct?
She's a server with artisan casting.
Okay, all right. So then,
I'm an artisan with server casting.
Okay, so the thing that really, because we got Pluto energy right now, it's just really whether people want to make changes in how they perceive themselves in the world. Pluto's going to say, we're going to shake it up anyway. And what I'm getting is when a lot of the servers that I have known in my lifetime, when you're not appreciated for what you're giving, it really brings you down. It really makes you, and having early career success, but then it kind of like sort of peters out. The thing that Pluto wasn't to me about genius, it was about go back to your beginner's mind. That immediate thing that connected you to why you wanted to, as your service to the world, create things. Again, it's not about the adolescence and the potential. It is literally about how do we totally transform. I mean, she has an opportunity right now, I think, to completely transform her worldview and how she presents it as a perception to us if she's willing to let go of all of this past and really go back to what was her initial, oh, fuck, this is why I want to do this. This is what I see. Because the rest of it is just other people's perceptions. The root of who she is and what made her create as she does is what I got. Okay, I'm done.
Cool.
Thank you, Tony. That is really beautiful. That I have a question about the Pluto card too. That there's something very unconscious, maybe, but yeah, there's more to it than just prodigy.
Yeah, notice that it's in the get gotten position. So there's something in there that needs to happen for the rest of these cards to turn back, and that cycle off card I think is particularly powerful here. As I mentioned, just a few moments ago, the fact that it's in the unconscious, saying that there is something that she is doing now that actually needs to be done. That there's a way of beginning again, and maybe that's that beginner's mind, or a new.
The own role card is her own role card, and it's in karmic themes.
Exactly. All right, Jan, you have one last comment from you, Jan. Go ahead.
So just quickly that the cycle off card seems to say, all right, all those feelings, all the things you wanted when you started off, that's done. And so, like Tony was saying, it's time for a new way of thinking about her artwork, that it's no longer got to make a big splash in the world. So I think that's it for me.
Okay, very good.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's beautiful.
All right, excellent, Phil. All right, so Terri, if you're ready, I'm gonna nick back here to your so everyone, I'm going to show you all of Terri's cards. There they are in one shot. So you see at the top is the artisan card, and then we've got the let's see, Terri, if you're there, would you tell me in which position is I see the top of the cards, I see all of them, but because the photographs can reverse the appearance of them, so let me just actually
I'm here. I was muted.
Thank you.
I forgot that I was muted.
So everyone, let me just tell you what it is. So first of all, Terri asked, she's an artisan, so she put herself at the top there, but she also numbered it number 13. So I guess she actually chose that last, and that's fine. Just that's what.
No, actually, I chose it first. Oh, so I was more concerned with getting the layout than I was with the reading.
Oh, okay.
Okay. When I did this, because you challenged me to create a spread. So
all right.
So that's kind of where my head was at. Although, I used myself as an example and drew cards from there.
Okay. So tell me that first triad then. What three positions are those? And we'll go to those specifically.
Can we get a larger context if that's help? Meaning,
this is a support position spread that Terri invented.
Right, but meaning I can read the words. There's intimates, inspirations, physical plane. Is that just in general for you, or is that in relation to a thing? Or
those are the placeholders.
No, I get it, but is that in relation to what?
That's what I'm about to get to, Jean. And that's why I was asking, what are the first triads?
Okay, hold on a second. I have a little bit of a presentation that I prepared to do for this, okay? In that, I just want to say, I was kind of overwhelmed at first with the task, okay? And I've been working with the archangels for the last 6 months, extensively, every week. We're having channeling sessions with different archangels. And so I've been learning about them. Oh. And so in one of the sessions we had, Archangel Raziel, in this card, came through and said that he would help with the spread.
Oh, cool.
Okay? He would help me with the spread. And Archangel Raziel is actually the guardian of the mysteries, of all the great mysteries, right? Like the Kabbalah and the hidden mysteries. So this is certainly that category. He's the keeper of secrets, right? He's the keeper of the secrets. So that was very powerful. So when I began this reading, I called in Archangel, Raziel, to help with the layout and my understanding. Today, before giving this presentation, I pulled another card, an angel card, to see who would show up out of my deck. And Raziel showed up. So Raziel is on this project with me.
You got confirmation. Cool.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. And then the question you asked us today in the breakout room, pull a card, I got acceptance and affiliation, right? So I felt really validated by that too. Like, okay, I'm on track here, okay? Anyway, so for this spread, I used Jose Stevens' interpretation of the support circle positions. Okay, that's who I use. It's based on Jose Stevens' support circle positions. And there are 13 of them. We call it the 12 position support circle because, because there's 12 people supporting us. Each one of us has a 12-person support circle.
Right.
Okay. The 13th position is you.
Mhm.
Okay. For this, and it's your power position. So for this reading to be relevant, I put what's called a significator card up there to say me. It's about me, the artisan, right?
Good.
So I pulled the artisan card. So you could start by pulling whatever role card you are, and that would be your 13th power position card. Okay, and then this reading will tell you, where it will show you where you're being supported and where you're not. Okay. Because what I did all of the cards upright because I didn't want to confuse myself while I was trying to do the layout.
Okay.
Too much information, right? Artisan input, too much information. So I wanted to keep it clear. And so I don't know if you guys have the handouts or not that he sent out
Last week.
That would be helpful to have, but not necessary. I mean, it would be helpful. Okay, so these 3 cards across here, according to Jose Stevens, these are the intimates. These are your closest support circle. Okay, love, knowledge, and compassion. Those are the intimates. These 3 cards here are the inspirationals. They're inspirational. And that is mentor, beauty, and child. Okay.
So you mean the next 3? The next 3. Okay.
Yeah, these next 3
All
are
right.
the inspirationals. Okay.
Can I? Melanie has a question for clarification. I think if I could have you pause for a second, Terry.
Okay.
Go ahead,
I don't
Mary.
think you're showing your slides. You're still showing just the JPEG of everything.
Okay.
Right.
So,
I'll get to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will be moving.
Right. I just want to go over the overview.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Overview first. Yeah. Okay. So these are your physical plane lessons. These 3, and they're humor, discipline, and anchor. Okay. Human, discipline, anchor. And then these last ones are your spiritual plane lessons. Okay. Here, healer, enlightenment, and muse. Okay. So that's the layout I used according to Jose Stevens' book. So I based it on Michael with some background help from Raziel. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So Raziel will come in the actual reading part. Okay.
All right.
But for the first time doing this, it might be, I thought about whether to do positive and negative poles or not, but your support circle doesn't really, we haven't gotten into whether support circles have positive or negative poles, right? So I didn't really want to go into that. Support circle is just a support circle, right? And so I put them all positive, upright, Did I do that?
Yes, you did. They're
Yes,
all.
I did. That's what I thought. Yes, I put them all upright. Okay. So, but where a card might be reversed, it could mean that you're not in touch with that person or that support circle position, or you're just, you're not aware of it, or it isn't filled. But just so you know, there's 12 strings of support in your support circle. So just because your primary support people aren't there doesn't mean that you can't have those positions filled, which is important to know. Okay.
Can I ask the question, Terry?
Sure.
So what I'm hearing you say, and what I assumed you did, you just explained, that up at the top is the power position, which represents ourselves, the signal there. And the first triad across the top, which is exalted, emotional, and self-love, those represent love, knowledge, and compassion. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then the second row represents the which ones now?
Inspirationals.
The inspirationals, okay.
Which are mentor, beauty, and child.
Okay. And then the third triad is what again?
That's your physical plane lessons.
Okay.
And that is humor, discipline, and anchor.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And so the last one then again, the last triad is
your spiritual plane lessons, and it's healer, enlightenment, and muse.
Excellent. Okay, so those are you've just named all the placeholders. Perfect.
Right.
And then this unique reading that we're seeing is the characteristics of how each of those support elements show up for you, or what you need in them. Is that how we would interpret it? How would you think?
Well, I just think I'm kind of willing to throw it open and let people think what they want, think what you want, because, I'll take what serves,
This is awesome. And as because this is the biggest layout we've done, I wanted to see how many layers, you might have explored in this yourself.
Yes, I have explored some of them. So if you want to switch,
please do. Which one do you want me to do? I'll switch over.
Okay, there. That's good.
Okay, got it.
Everybody can see that, right?
So we've got the top two triads.
Right. So I'm gonna start with this card and this triad. This is the love position. Okay, and it's exalted. So for me, and expansion is one of my needs. It's one of my primary needs is expansion. So, I have to be in a very expansive love environment, and I kind of took this as being unconditional love. Okay, that's not what your card is saying exactly. But for me, the way I interpreted that is expanding my capacity to love and be loved by others. Okay.
I wonder if some of what is the love position for you, since it's exalted, it means a certain degree of, I don't know, recognition, acceptance, and maybe congratulation from your public or the people that, that you seek to serve.
That would be lovely. And I'm at a place where I can have it.
All right.
Thank you, Steve.
Sure.
Very good. Thank you. And the second one I thought was very interesting, knowledge position. I'm emotionally centered, so my knowledge tends to come through my perceptions rather than my intellect. Okay. It comes through my senses, I sense things. And so that's how I work with the information, the knowledge position. But it could also mean that the person who fills my knowledge position, oh, yes, as within, so without. So what these mean is, the people who actually fill those positions would probably have some of those qualities of that card. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And of course, look at the image of the positive pole. It's a conversation between two people.
Right. And sharing knowledge. That's another need of mine, expansion. I have expansion and exchange. Okay, so there they are in my first two. My first two needs are in the first intimates thing, which is very interesting. And then compassion position came out as self-love. I just love that because I'm working really diligently on that. Compassion for myself and others, as well. So that's the compassion position. What a perfect place for self-love. I was very happy with that.
And it's also interesting, you've said with the previous two cards, what if they were, and what kind of a person would be you know, and it looks like even the image might be helping you, is a mirror of self-love.
Yes, yes. As far as my love position goes, for a while, my essence twin filled this position, because this position here is often filled by an essence twin or essence mate or traveling companion or somebody very close. But right now, my essence mate is in my life, and he's a priest, so he's probably as exalted as you're going to get in a love position, you know, sixth-fold priest. Okay, so that those three, you know, anytime you're dealing with threes, as you know, Steve, you've got a essentially progressive motion. In other words, it moves you. It moves you right through that quadrant. So there's motion there. There's energy and motion that then, you know, going down to the inspirationals. Where do you find your inspiration? You know. Now this one, oh, self-deprecation, you know, what I got.
And what placeholder is that, by the way?
This is mentor, which I think is really interesting.
So humble mentor.
Humble mentor, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm drawn to. I'm not drawn to a lot of ego and stuff. I'm drawn to humility. So I thought, well, that's interesting. And I also think in many past lifetimes, I've had arrogance. And I think in this lifetime, I'm really doing a crash course on humility. Okay. Yeah. On self-dep. So the self-deprecation, my negative chief feature itself, can be my teacher. Right. Yeah. So that's what I got out of that one. And this is, let's see, beauty.
So your beauty position is
myself. I take great pride. I'm always posting beautiful things on the internet, right?
Yeah.
I take beauty really seriously, you know. I think beauty is like, you know, it's like love. It's beauty heals you, you know. It's essential. It's essential. And it also relates to energy in the Michael teachings, right? Energy and beauty, truth, love, and energy with beauty, you know. So personality. Yeah. So, you know, I like being a source of beauty. I like to beautify the world. That's why I've got all these beautiful websites. I like to beautify things, right? Okay. And let's see, this is, child, which this surprised me.
Yeah, interesting.
My inner child apparently likes to have some authority and maybe has more than I realize. I don't know. I have to look a little bit more at that. But it can also be, you know, my power, my creative power is through my inner child. That's kind of how I interpreted that.
Okay.
Okay, next slide.
Next triad. Let's see.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is humor, discipline, and anchor. Okay. So this I'm not too sure. Well, okay, wait a minute. I get it. I'm a Pisces. Neptune, right? I'm a Pisces. And so my sense of humor is very effusive, right? Very, very, you know, I had to look that word up. You know, I like, you know, these words that we hear, you know, we think we understand, but when it comes right to applying it to ourselves, maybe we don't. So, you know, I
compliment you for looking it up. I did a lot in this deck.
I bet you did.
Really useful to, you know, go through the meaning of a word, go through synonyms, and realize the nuances, the slight differences, the subtleties.
Right. I would like feedback at some point after we go through the rest, if there's time on this card.
Oh no, by all means. I want to get you through all these so you can get some feedback.
Yeah. Okay, so and this is discipline. Well, discipline holds you to a karma of some sort, right? To the fulfillment of a karmic debt or obligation or agreement or commitment or something like that. And right now, I mean, this had to be my essence twin, man, because we argued and argued, and he was a cynic and I was a spiritualist, and all of our beliefs were completely opposite each other. And boy, did he hold me to some he held my feet to the karmic fire, okay? And he's a king too. So, and actually, as a spiritualist, I found I attracted an ungodly number of cynics. You know, they just come out of the woodwork around, around me somehow, spiritualist, right? Yeah. Anyway, and then compassion, priest. I find this interesting. This is anchor. You know, I've been going through a lot of really deep internal process where, you know, I have my Michael base, okay? And I love the Michael teachings, and you know, I will always love and channel Michael. But what's happening is I'm kind of moving beyond the teachings, Michael teachings, to include other things that I'm interested in. I went through some health issues last year, which were, you know, really put me in a depression, and it makes it hard to channel when you're in a depression, okay? Because people don't want to get sessions when you're in a depression. But anyway, through all these really synchronistic things, my essence mate was brought into my life, and he's a priest, and he really is kind of acting as an anchor for me at this time. So I think, as well as being in my love position, right? So I'm really happy about that. So that position, I think, is still okay. We can move on.
All right, next one. Oops. Come on. There we go.
Okay, and this one is, yeah, that was physical plane lessons. No, this is physical plane lessons.
These are your spiritual lessons, aren't they? Your spiritual.
Oh, yes, this is the spiritual. Right. Okay. Thank you for the orientation.
Sure.
So this would be number 10, healer, self-actualization, passion. That's my mode. Okay. My mode is passion. And what's really healing for me is when I can be self-actualizing, you know. When I'm not able to be self-actualizing, I can definitely get depressed, okay, as an artist, and when I can't use my creativity and whatnot. And, you know, having a lot of physical stuff going on last year, and I have some going on now, it makes it a challenge. But that's my healer. This here, this is enlightenment position. I'm in entity 1 of cadre 1, which is the server entity, and the positive pole is service. So I see this as my enlightenment in position in my support circle is my entity. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
My whole entity group. Yeah. And this one here, muse, you know, action is the hardest thing for me, okay? You know, it's my least used center. So anybody who can motivate me to move is high on the list of, you know, muses. So that's it. That's my interpretation.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Terri. All right. So we're going to open it up to the crew, and I'm coming back to the full spread. So Catherine, you have your hand up, I see. You have some comments for Terri.
Wait, she's muted. You're muted.
You're muted there.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that I think you would probably get a more rounded reading if you also did use the reverse positions in this. And the reason I'm mentioning that is you were asking specifically about your humor card being Neptune. I'm thinking that if you use that card and saw it in the negative, it can refer also to illusion. And perhaps someone who you find supports you from a humor point of view, someone like a magician who uses sleight of hand, who gives illusions, who things are not what they appear to be, or that you like double entendres, you like a hidden meaning that comes behind things as well, but you find that can be humorous and give you enlightenment or through that way. So anyway, that's one thing that came to mind.
Catherine, I appreciate your feedback, around that. Yeah, it was kind of overwhelming to do them all, and do the spread. So I just kind of kept it simple. But yes, absolutely. Both polarities. I would do it again and let the polarities fly,
From a construction standpoint, this is amazing.
Not so much being negative as being reduced or a different perspective, looking at from the side as opposed to front on. That might give you the way the support person would work in this.
Cool. Thank you.
Another way of saying it too, I think Catherine it may be alluding to, and I didn't hear it said, but I'm going to say it, is that, the card itself is the person who's filling that. So they could be operating out of the positive or negative pole at any one given time.
Good point.
Yeah.
Great point. I like that.
Catherine, I see your hand go up again. Did you have, or is there somebody? Wait a minute. Who else had a hand up?
Dawn is up.
Who? Oh, Dawn. Okay, Dawn, you want to give a shot?
Hi, Dawn.
Yes. I just want to say two things very specifically to you, Terri. I think you slightly misinterpreted something that I think is really important about this reading, and that was the power card coming from the child's position.
Okay.
Because that said to me, it's so obvious that a child could see it that you need to step into your power. You've got everything but that. Okay. So I just want to say, because that came through very, very kind of loud and clear to me. And the next thing I want to say is, I'm going to try my best to hold up a stone here. And I don't know how well you can see it, but this is what's called a blue tiger eye.
Oh,
and most tiger eye is a wonderful, like, kind of golden brown, but this is a blue one. And this is a moving center charger trigger. When I have to do something and I just can't get off my butt, I pop on this blue tiger eye and bang, it's done before you know it. So I just want to throw that in because that's a Michael thing.
Awesome. Really awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool.
That's a piece I don't have. That would be helpful. Absolutely.
So I just want to make one last comment, and then and just to first of all acknowledge, Terri, you were awesome in doing this. This is an amazing spread, and I salute you on the complexity at which you took it on at, number one. And then Dawn just made a point that I want to expand upon, I think is really useful, again, is that any of the positions, the placeholders themselves, the card not only might be what the qualities of the person that you draw in, but I think what she was saying is a good point, is that it could call out in you to manifest that energy. And with a child, to be a strong parent, if you were to flip it around, is because in our child position, it can be, at least my reading, my interpretation is that it is a person that can often act out as if we were their caretaker, and or needed to parent. And so looking at some of these cards from the standpoint of that support position might be calling these energies from us to learn and to be, I think is a really other useful interpretation, in addition to the one that you presented, Terri. So,
that's interesting, because the child position teaches responsibility.
Yes.
Teaches you responsibility. And so that's very interesting. I know one person that I have in my child position Ed Hammerstrom actually is in my child position. Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, thank you, Terri, for that. And I unfortunately we really don't have time to get to Tony's last layout. And I actually wanted to take these last few minutes to give any of you a chance to comment or ask any closing questions or make any, comments about what you got out of this class and what has really stuck for you. And so I just want to open it up. Please use the hands again, and we'll just take turns if any of you have anything to say. And since I don't see any hands, I guess well, thank you for and Catherine, I see your hand up, so go right ahead. And then I see Jean's got a heart up there. That's a nice one. Go ahead, Catherine. And then Renee.
I was just going to say thank you very much because while I've been using the cards for a while and I've had the opportunity to take a few classes with you at the gatherings with them, I always did feel somewhat overwhelmed by them with all the information. So the fact that I was able to sit down here and have a weekly course where we could go through things and have a chance to discuss things and explore things really helped me be able to focus and clarify and realize I don't have to see all of it. I just need to see what I need to see from that time, and then I can develop that if necessary into further levels.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much for this, and I'm really interested in doing more.
Good. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you very much for the input. Appreciate it. And Renee, you're next, and then Tony.
I just want to say thank you for doing this, and I'm learning and have a lot more to learn, but thank you for doing this, and thank you, everyone, and I have enjoyed the class.
Great. Thanks, Renee. Tony?
Well, what I wanted to say was that I have been working since you first offered the cards 10 years ago, right?
Yep.
Lost the physical ones, got the online, did the online visceral out in the ether. Anyway, what I did not realize was how much it was going to really activate my artisan casting. I'm a sage, I'm a motor mouth, but the ability to see the layers and layers and the patterns explained to me really helped me focus what I was understanding from what I was perceiving from all these different channels. That I did not know, for instance, that I was perceiving peripherally information that was evident in this system. I was actually able to, it gave me underpinnings to give language to what I was seeing, but was not actually able to articulate. And oftentimes people say, can you repeat that? And I'm going, no, I can't. I have no idea what I said. But this actually allows me to go back to an insight that may have just spouted out of my mouth because I have a frame of reference for it. And that was incredibly valuable to me on so many different levels. And I thank you.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for the feedback, Tony. You're welcome. Abigail.
One thing before I mute, I'm going to post my friend's reading on our Michael's card because she really would like some feedback on the situation. So okay. I'm going to post the reading on the Facebook page.
Okay, very good. That's great. Thank you. All right, Abby.
Hi, I wanted to say thank you for putting this class together and just bringing us all together, because not only do I find the content of the class really valuable, I also find the input that everyone else brings to it extremely valuable as well. Like the way that people interpret the cards and the different things that people see and the different aspects that people can resonate with. And the different viewpoints that people have based on these cards really helps to open my mind to more than just what I think. It's like, oh, how else can I interpret this? How else could this be construed? What else am I missing, or what else can someone else see that I can then channel through, you know? So I just really wanted to thank everyone here for putting their energy towards this class and sharing their energy with everyone, and providing a lot of value.
Excellent. Thank you, Abby. Really,
Yes.
yeah, appreciate the appreciation.
Steve, can you turn it to everyone looking at each other so we can all see each other?
Okay, let's do, yeah, let me do that. Thanks everyone for that. I mean, thank you, Jean, for that, the group. So, all right, let's do the gallery so we can all see each other. There we go.
Better.
All right, and let's see, Karen Dewey.
Yeah, I just was really glad you asked me to do the class. I learned so much. I've been playing with the cards, and I've been doing tarot, and I do a lot of numerology, and I really loved pulling the cards. I really love it. It's just a good reflection. And I mean, I don't think I'll ever pull them for other people, but I don't know. I have such a connection to source that, you know, I feel like I need the validation or all the help I can get, and that definitely helped. So thank you.
You're very welcome, Karen. Excellent. And Dawn, and then Phil.
Okay, so I just want to say that I now, for the past couple of years, have been making my living doing readings. And if there's one thing that can really piss me off is when a person will walk in and they'll say, well, what do you do? And I go, I'm a Michael channel and I do astrology. And they're like, no, I need cards. And I'm just like I can't tell you, you know what I mean? Whatever you know, because I have to have cards. But I always kind of found it difficult to lay cards out. So what I have really discovered in this course is I am blown away by the computer. I'm married to a programmer, so I super appreciate this. So now I have a way to do card readings. So what I'm finding really works for me is I take my deck and then I do an electronic reading, and then I lay the cards out, and it just like really pops to life. So thank you very much, Steve. I'm just really happy to be here, and thanks for listening.
Oh, thank you, Dawn. You're really welcome. Phil, you're up last. You're muted, Phil.
I'm just amazed at the depth of what you can go through with these cards and how one layout leads to another, and it's very exciting, and I feel like I really got it, feeling like I'm really getting information, and anyway, I'm really grateful for that. Thank you. Oh, and is there a Facebook group now? Is that
Yes, there is.
happening?
Alexandra, who is not here tonight, started it. It's what did she call it? Do you guys remember? Was it called Motivations Cards, Michael Motivation Cards Group, something like that? If anyone has a link, maybe you could take that email list and send it out to everybody. And I will also look it up myself, and I will send it out when I send out all the links to these final files. So I just wanted to say a few things to you, gang. First of all, again, I so appreciate you have been a lively, intelligent, interested group that I couldn't have asked for, really a more astute bunch of people. I also appreciate all of your willingness when you've been vulnerable with things that have been very personal to you. Because ultimately that's the kind of intimacy and bridge building we're trying for. So hopefully we built a lot of lattice work. Thank you, Jean. Jean Sauvage just put the link down in the chat for the Facebook group. You can always go and click on it, and it'll open up a window for you and take you there.
And you have to, I think you have to ask permission to join, but she'll let you in.
Yeah, it is a permission thing. So when you submit, when you get there and, you submit whatever, Alexandra is the gatekeeper. So she will be the one who, lets people in and stuff. But anyway, so there's a couple of last things just to say that for those of you, I know I'll see a bunch of you tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is the third quarter overleaves presentation. It's also at 5 o'clock here on Zoom. Everyone who has registered for that has gotten your link, undoubtedly. And then, for those of you who've expressed interest in a second level of this, it's been said by several that, that won't be coming around, that, they couldn't do the summer. So look to fall, that I will, try and put something together. And my last thing is, if you've got something out of this, and if there's just one person that you think could really benefit by these cards, buy them a deck, give them a gift, get it out there, put it in their hands, because there's nothing like, as Terri so appropriately and rightly noted, like, having these things in your midst. So
right. Not only that, but you put your own energies into the cards.
That's right.
And they become truly yours, imprinted with your energy, which can't happen on the computer.
That's right. That's right.
So that's important, because making them your own and establishing a relationship with the deck.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. So thank you again. I'll get all the the remainder information together and send out an email to you with all the links and recordings and all the rest of it and slides and so forth. And thank you. And those I see tomorrow night, I'll see you tomorrow night. And the rest of you, I'll see you when I see you.
And I'll see you soon.
Okay, yes, you will. Sorry, I'll be in touch.
Blessings.
Me too.
Right,
Blessings.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
And Melanie.
Love.
Everyone, and Janaya and everyone.
Bye, Terri. Bye, Terri.
Thank you.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Mary Ellen.
Night, Michael.
Night, Michael. Yeah.
All right, everyone. I'll see ya. All right. And here we go. Bye, Jean. Bye, Renee. Hey, Jean, are you sending out the link for Saturday?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Cool. All right.
But
Well,
today, all day, I didn't know what day it was. It's Thursday, right?
It's Thursday. I know. I think it was parallel time today. That's what I was kind of getting. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Last night everything got kind of screwy emotionally. Like I felt like everything was bananas. So I'm sure it was parallel, because everything just felt kind of out of whack. So yeah. So anyway, how do you feel? Good class.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate your inputs and your offering, that outer kind of like fencing around, or to keep the enclosure, there. It's really been helpful there. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. My brain doesn't work so well when things get too airy fairy, I think, and so I need a little bit more like structure, I guess maybe is the term.
Yeah, maybe specificity too, but everything you did, I really appreciated, because I want it to be grounded. I mean, let's face it, we can't get more new age or metaphysical. I mean, it's already new agey metaphysical, which is less structure, abstract. So to be able to continue to relay things to things that are relatable, and then be able to rephrase things is really great. So
yeah. Good. So
well, you have a good night. And
thank you. You too. And I'll see you
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
All right, there.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.